Behold, a brand new little Chinese made drill chuck. It's called Zanao, and it's the new record holder for the slowest Banggood delivery. This little thing took well over 2 months to get to my workshop. Workshop, well, that's a big name. Let's call it the place where I come to play with my toys. But I'm glad it's finally here. Otherwise I would have lost a whopping €3.69 or something like that. I must say that items I've bought from Banggood sure take their time compared to items that I was given for review. And talking about review, this thing looks decent and feels okay. Although the grinding on the inside of the jaws is a bit rough and there are no serrations. But all that doesn't matter if the run out is acceptable. I'm going to stick this little drill chuck to a piece of this 16mm thick rod and make myself a simple cross drilling jig for on the lathe. So let's hack off a piece and go to the lathe. This little Zanao chuck has a B12 taper to mount arbors. I don't have anything that has a B12 arbor, so I'm using this MT2 arbor to reference the top slide against. It's not exactly the correct angle, but I reckon it's close enough, and I should be able to make it fit with a little sandpaper. Well, that looks good enough for me. So next I'm going to set up the 4-jaw and center drill the 16mm rod. That's probably the best I can do with a 4-jaw. Let's find out if this time I'm on center height. Not sure yet, but I'm a lot closer. Yeah, that looks good. That's nice. It's still a bit rough, but I'll take it. Must be hard stuff. This drill must be getting dull. I wasn't really sure if the chuck jaws would be parallel with the lathe bed, so I'm going with this setup. I have a half dead center over here, which should give me enough space to turn this down to a B12 taper. And as you can see, I got it running pretty close to true. Although I haven't tested it over here, but I expect there will be some run out over there. Let's see. Wow, better than expected. Almost zero run out. Now let's turn a taper on here. I think that tool is more rubbing than cutting. Finish isn't too bad. Maybe I was cutting too deep. Let's finish the cut and then I'll decide if I need to regrind the tool bit. That's definitely not good enough. I honed the tool bit and took another pass. It seemed to be cutting better, but I'm not sure if that's because of the sharper tool bit or if the material is getting softer inside. However, the surface finish is still shite. Although the fact that I'm having a hard time to consistently turn the handle on the compound slide, that might also have something to do with the bad surface finish. It's definitely a bit better when turning in the direction of the headstock. I honed the tool again and it seems to be cutting better, but it still feels weird, rough, I don't know. This is some weird kind of scraptonium. It almost looks a bit like it's cast iron. I think there must be a high percentage of carbon in here, I don't know. Almost 12. I'm shooting for 11ish. Something like that. I didn't bother looking up the exact size of a B12 taper. I'll take another cut now. Let's do a test fit, see if this is just as perfect as I think it is. Probably not, but as long as I keep thinking that, I gotta be right at some point, right? Oh, that's definitely not right. That's pretty far off. That's terrible. So it looks like I removed too much material, or I just didn't make this long enough. I guess guesstimating isn't one of my better qualities. Well, it should be fixable. I can always remove a bit from the front here after I get the taper more or less fitting. So I made the taper a little longer. Let's find out if it has helped. Looks like the chuck is still too close to the concave radius over here, so I'll remove a bit more. It seems to be very close. It's test fitting time, and I have a feeling that a few more might follow. I removed a bit on the front here, as there is a ridge inside the chuck, and well, if it hits the ridge it will never fit. That doesn't feel bad. I'll polish it a bit more, and then I'll start painting. I slapped on a bit of oil paint, and we will now all pretend that this is some high quality engineering bluing product. Even Mr. Godswinder, if he's watching. There seems to be a high spot over here. I'll polish it again, but I think it's close to good enough for me. That looks pretty good. Is it perfect? I'm sure it's not. But maybe it is by Chinese standards. And they seem to be doing just fine. So maybe we should look at them for some inspiration. Most of the contact seems to be on the front. So I will polish that a little more. Earlier when I was polishing, I actually overheated the part because the oil inside this half dead center or half live center, whatever you want to call it, was boiling, and it actually galled the half center, half dead center, whatever, a little bit. So I guess I will have to see if I can get a new one, this time with a real carbide tip. This thing was supposed to have a carbide tip, but the carbide probably stayed in China. That's nice enough. And with any luck, I will never see it again. 16mm won't fit in my electric drill chuck, so I'll turn it down to 12. 12.7. I think that will also fit my electric drill, because I believe it can grab a 13mm drill bit. I'll take one more light pass. Bit rough, but that should give it a little grip on the drill chuck jaws. Next I'm going to torture this little Chinese drill chuck with the propane torch, because that's what the propane torch is for, torturing things. And when it's nice and toasty, I will stick it into the arbor I made and hope it will never come apart again. That, and I hope it will have a decent run out. Looks like it's turning a little bit black. Must be some oil on there. Yeah, that's enough. A few light whacks with the nylon hammer, and that's just done. So there you have it. This project is finished, because I'm not going to do any difficult things with bearings and such. I will just stick this in the boring bar holder, add a little loop, and just use it that way. I guess now I should test my creation, see if it is any good. You might remember this little air die grinder and the holder I made for it from a few videos ago, when I tried to fix a Chinese collet chuck with some run out problems. Anyway, it's now also going to be part of my cross drilling jig. I put in an extra set screw on top here, and that will serve as a oil hole for some lubrication. There's some play, but I can tighten up these aluminium set screws to take most of it out. I don't think the aluminium will damage the arbor I made. I'm stuck up. Well, I've already broken it. That's a new record, even for me. A little tiny chip, probably from drilling the set screw oil loop point hole. I guess I should stone the surface before I continue. The chip dug in over here. A minor setback, but it's all good now. Hopefully there are no more chips hidden somewhere. There's some play, but that shouldn't matter. I think my electric drill has more play and run out than this contraption. Here you can see the reason why I chose a small drill chuck. It fits on top of the tool post, and that's especially useful for cross drilling. Alright, I guess we now should do some real testing, and I just happen to have the perfect job to try this on. This piece here is a filled backing plate, and if you follow my channel you know that it is pretty much stuck on the spindle. It might even have galled up the register, and that's basically all my own fault. No point denying that. I'm planning to drill a hole in the side here, say 10 millimeters, then stick an 8mm rod in the hole, fix that rod to the top slide, and with the backing plate fixed to the top slide, I'm hoping I can turn the headstock pulley and get things loose again. By the way, I'm using a scrap of wood here to prevent the spindle from turning when I'm drilling the hole in the side. When I was pushing in on this piece of wood with the tailstock, it also pushed the backing plate a little further towards the headstock. So I think that's a good thing. At least I know it is not completely seized up. And maybe that little push also helped line things up again. But first let's see if this thing is on center height. From my angle it looks pretty much perfect. Bit of loop, and here we go. Nasty word. Things seized up. Must have been another chip in there. That's not a great start. I'll investigate and report back later. I've stoned the arbor and touched up the bore with the Dremel, and I'm ready to try this again. Hopefully with a little bit more success. Here we go. Feels like I'm having the same problem again. It's hardly touching the metal. I'll try it one more time before I admit defeat. Rehoned and restoned. I'm ready to try again. This time I didn't tighten up the set screws, and I put a punch mark on the backing plate. To be honest, I'm fully expecting another failure, because the drill chuck arbor is starting to get pretty rough. And it looks like pieces of metal keep breaking off on the side of the set screw holes. So here goes nothing. Yeah, there we go again. Alright, that's it. I admit, this was a stupid idea to save some time. There might be something to using some bearings. Or at least a holder without any set screws. sticking in the pin. Here goes nothing. Oh, there it comes. Moving the top slide a little. Easy. Now it's stuck again. I think it moved back to the position where it was before I moved the backing plate with that piece of wood. Now it's loose again. Looks. Where is my welding glove? Yeah, I got it. It's coming off. I'm starting to feel the heat. Maybe that's a little rough, but that might be corrosion from before. A tiny piece of metal. I think it might be okay. I must say I'm pretty happy with this. I was expecting the worst, considering my luck today. Alright, here I end this rather disappointing video with a happy ending. So, happy New Year.